Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tirambanachari Jamuna Kirambanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tirambanachari Jamuna Tirambanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Shyama Sundara ki jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today is a combination of two holidays, and I was reflecting how how holidays get so messed up in this part of the world, you know? Christmas is supposed to be Jesus' Vyas Puja, and somehow we went from Vyas Puja to Santa Claus, and then Santa Claus to Black Friday, and from Black Friday to Cyber Monday. And it just keeps dissipating the original meaning. Or Halloween. You know, Halloween was initially a pagan festival that was converted to All Saints' Day, and the evening before All Saints' Day, where all the great holy people were celebrated, turned into Halloween, which is now celebrated with Darth Vader and M&Ms. And, you know, I mean, the meaning has been lost. So today is a dual holiday in this part of the world. It is Juneteenth, which is now a national holiday in America, and also Father's Day. Happens to fall on the same day this particular year. So Juneteenth is the celebration of the emancipation of the African American slaves in America. And that was in 1865. Actually, the 13th Amendment to the Constitution was passed in 1863, freeing the slaves, but then it took 2.5 years to get the word to, I believe it was Galveston, Texas, where the last slaves were freed. So that occurred on June 19th, 1865. And that is why Juneteenth has become a celebration of that emancipation. So looking back, it's a little hard for us to understand or even imagine how it could be possible, but at that time in America, about 1 out of 10 people living in this country was a slave. 1 out of 10. And all African Americans, except for about 500,000, there were about 4 million slaves and about 500,000 freed African Americans at that time. So it was made a national holiday just this year, or the past year, by the Biden administration, although it's been celebrated in the black community since then. So this is an auspicious day. It's one that has yet to be terribly contaminated from its original sattvic meaning. And similarly, Father's Day is a celebration of fatherhood that has not been overly commercialized. I guess Home Depot sells tools at a discount. But the offering of respect to one's elders, to one's parents, is a very sattvic and mode of goodness type of celebration. So on this occasion, I wanted to talk a little bit about respect for one's father. Some of us have fathers who are really great guys, some not so. And all of us have a great father in Krishna. This understanding of God as the Father is common to all religions, isn't it? All traditions. God as the Father, as the supreme provider, caretaker, protector, is common to every faith. In America today, as in Europe and Australasia, the number of people who believe in God and God's existence is on the decline. It has gone down to less than 80% in America, which is the lowest it has ever been, since America was founded ostensibly on principles of one nation under God. And yet more and more people are giving up that idea of God's existence because of many reasons, much of it the hypocrisy of religious leaders. People have lost faith. They equate God with the church, and the church has all kinds of holes in it, and therefore God must be a myth. So the idea of God also, for those who retain it, they tend to be on the side of the kind of extremists in many cases, that they advocate really only one faith, essentially feel that faiths that are not of their particular denomination are not really true. One of the most stark experiences I ever heard about this was from my good friend Anuttama Prabhu. He was out distributing books and met a gentleman. He showed him the Bhagavad Gita, and he said, "Oh, I don't believe that book. Anyone who follows that book is going to hell." So Anuttama Prabhu said, "Oh, so only people who believe in your religion are going to hell? Are going to heaven? Everyone else is going to hell?" He said, "No, not everyone who believes in my religion. There's Catholics and there's Protestants, and the Catholics are going to hell." So you believe that only Protestants can go to heaven? Well, not all Protestants. So only Protestants in your church? Not everyone in my church. So this is the reason why thoughtful people often reject the very notion of God, because those who are representing him have a narrow view and a hard heart, and find it difficult to see the good in other people and see the commonality amongst us all. So here is where an understanding of Krishna consciousness can be so very, very fruitful. There's another critic of God's existence who cynically said, all right, so there's supposed to be this supreme being, and he gives you 10 laws, 10 rules, and if you don't follow these 10 rules, then you will go and burn for eternity and suffer endlessly. But he loves you, and he needs your money. In Krishna consciousness, we understand Krishna in a much different way, and in fact a very broad way, but he's also the Father. So I want to start with reading this verse from chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita, in which Krishna's position as the Supreme Father is described, but in scientific detail. Please repeat. Sarva yonishu konteya murtayat sambhavanti aham tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita sarva yonishu konteya murtayat sambhavanti aham bija pradapita tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. Would anyone else like to chant? Sarvayonishu Kanteya Murtaya Sambhavantiya Tasam Brahma Mahadyoni Aham Bija Pradapitaha. Vaishnavas? Sarvayonishu Kanteya Murtaya Sambhavantiya. Tasam Brahma Mahadronir. Aham Bija Pradapitaha. Sarvayonishu Konteya. Murtaya Sambhavantiya. Asam Brahma Mahadronir. Aham Bija Pradapita. Thank you. Let's read the synonyms together, please. Sarva Yonishu, in all species of life. Kunteya, O son of Kunti. Murtayaha, forms. Sambhavanti, they appear. Ya, which, Tasam, of all of them. Brahma, the supreme. Mahat Yoni, source of birth in the material substance. Aham, I. Bija Prada, the seed given. Pita, father. And translation together. It should be understood, all species of life, made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am seed-giving Father. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse it is clearly explained that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original Father of all living entities. The living entities are combinations of the material nature and the spiritual nature. Such living entities are not only seen on this planet, but on every planet, even on the highest, where Brahma is situated. Everywhere there are living entities. Within the earth there are living entities, even within water and within fire. All these appearances are due to the mother, material nature, and Krishna's seed-giving process. The purport is that the material world is impregnated with living entities who come out in various forms at the time of creation according to their past deeds. So here is a comprehensive view of God as a Father. That not only human beings, but all species of life, Sarva Yonishu, all species of life are made possible by his seed-giving process. But Krishna impregnates the material nature and creates the material bodies that house the living beings just by his glance. Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti. He does not require any particular sense organ to perform the function of any other sense organ. In other words, all of his senses are multifaceted. So simply by glancing at this material energy, which represents a small fraction of his total creation, he creates all of our material bodies. And in that respect, he is the seed-giving Father because he implants the living soul inside the physical body. So this is the Bhagavad Gita's first teaching, that we identify very much with our bodies, whether they're black or white or female or male, but in fact we are the spirit inside the body. And not only in human bodies, but all species of life. In the human body alone, there's 90 trillion living entities. Did you know that? 90 trillion living cells that are born, grow, have duration, pass out byproducts, dwindle, and die. And only 10 trillion of them are human. The other 80 trillion are along for the ride. I thought you were all alone in there, huh? They are along for the ride, enjoying the ride, waiting for the big feast at the end. So the living entities are innumerable, and Krishna is the source of every one of them. And every one of them has a unique relationship with Krishna. That's the beautiful thing about Krishna consciousness. Many times people look at devotees of Krishna externally and think they're very homogeneous. They all sing the same mantras, they all read the same books, they all eat the same food, they all type the same jargon, Haribol. So they think it's rather monochromatic until you get a little closer and get to know the devotees. And then you find that there's quite a diverse variety of interesting personalities amongst the Vaishnavas. Anyone ever had a rock polishing kit? You take the rough pebbles and you put them in the centrifuge, and then they come out all shiny and smooth. So being in the association of devotees is like that. You go in kind of rough edges, and then your rough edges bounce against someone else's rough edges. And if you stay around long enough, you come out all smooth and shiny. So Krishna brings out this point here that all living entities, whether they are germs or demigods or anywhere in between, are all his parts and parcels, and he's the seed-giving Father. So you see, so on this basis, the idea of understanding God is a far broader notion than a sectarian religious notion. My God can beat up your God. This God means the sole, single source, Father, caretaker, proprietor, benefactor of everyone, every species, every living thing. Eko bahunam yo vididhati kamanam. That out of many, many countless living entities, there is one chief living entity. This is the other thing. To think of God as an energy or just some force is to eliminate his identity as an individual, isn't it? No one likes to be thought of as a cog in a machine. Like in a company, if people treat you in a way as if you're only good for the work you produce and have no inherent value as a human being, nobody appreciates that, right? And yet people do that to God, thinking that God must be greater than a person. He must be some fantastic energy, and therefore I don't have to pay any attention to him. No, but in fact, if God has created people, he must also be at least as good as what he creates. If he's created individuals, he must also be an individual. If he's created personalities, he must also have a personality. So, understanding Krishna as the Supreme Father is just a wonderful way to begin to appreciate God in a holistic and broad way. Srila Prabhupada writes that the activities of people who practice other faiths, other than Krishna consciousness, those are also considered bhakti. But it's just bhakti on the introductory level. Bhakti means devotion to Krishna and devotion to God. And there are five stages, you could say, of devotion to God. The first is known as Shantaras, and this is what all God-conscious, God-believing people share, that God is great, I am subordinate to God, he is the controller, I am dependent on God. This is called Shantaras, or the passive understanding of God. In the Shantaras, there is an expression of, it's sort of a one-way street. Our Father who art in heaven, give us this day our daily bread, forgive us our trespasses, lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. Right? It's pretty much a very pious shopping list. Please give me these things. This is a Shantaras, where we turn to God for protection, for enlightenment, for care. And this is good. Nothing wrong with that. But it's just the beginning. So beyond that is called the Dasyaras, or the servitude relationship. If you really like somebody, what do you want to do, naturally? You want to do something to please them. Yes, you want to please them. You want to serve them. You want to make them happy. So this is a different dynamic than simply appreciating God, the Father. Now let me do something for the Father. Let me reciprocate with my Father. Let me offer some loving appreciation and practical service for my Father. This connection is, you see, a much richer understanding of God in our relationship with him than simply, please give us things. So this manifests in different ways. For a lot of religious people, this is service to humanity. Service to mankind. There's a saying in India, Manasa Seva, Madhava Seva, right? Serving man is serving God. So if you are giving charity, if you're helping people, then this is divine service. Some Christian friends of mine down at the University of Florida have a ministry, and they were telling me how when they have the opportunity, they want to do something for the community, they get together and prepare what they call PB&J sandwiches, peanut butter and Jesus. And they go and feed the hungry, and this is their means of expressing their devotion to God. And so again, this is certainly beyond merely asking God for things. Rather, I want to do something for you. That's pretty much as far in the Judeo-Christian understanding, with a few exceptions. That's pretty much as far as we go. We believe that God's a provider, and if we get fired up, then we want to do something for him. Exactly how to do that, we have only a very generic idea. But the Vedas, which describe and teach the science of bhakti, they go further, that beyond the service interactive relationship with God, there's also what's called sakya rasa, or the friendship relationship with God, friendly relationship. That, in other words, God is accessible enough to everyone that he can be a friend. Now, what is the saying? God is my co-pilot? There's maybe some undertones of that here and there. But the idea of a true friend is what? Who is a true friend? A true friend is somebody you can be yourself with. A true friend is somebody who's not going to judge you. A true friend is somebody who loves you without condition. A true friend is someone who wants to see your happiness even more than their own happiness. So that sort of equity and relationship with the Supreme is unique to, requires, let's put it this way, it requires an understanding of exactly who God is. Like we could tell somebody, I came tonight with my best friend. Oh, who's your best friend? This guy over here? The tall guy? Short? I don't know. But whoever he is, he's my best friend. How can we have a friendship with someone we don't know? It just makes no sense. It's theoretical at best. A true friendship, as I was describing, that requires a person on the receiving end and a person to reciprocate. So as Srila Prabhupada often said, if you have somebody better than Krishna to be God, then we'll worship him. Otherwise you worship Krishna. So how do we make friends with Krishna? Well, in friendship there is respect and reverence. In friendship there is certainly service. But in friendship there's also a sense of equality. That we feel close enough to God that we can share our minds and our hearts very freely. We have no need to put on any pretense. Many times in the course of our spiritual lives, we tend to think, oh, I don't want Krishna to see this side of me. I don't want Krishna to know this thought. I'm going to keep that one to myself. As if he didn't know already. He's already monitoring everything that's going on in there when we're chanting or whatever. He knows. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto matakmatir jnanam apohanam cha. He is sitting in the heart of every living being, observing their wanderings, observing their minds. He knows us. So that's an actually liberating thing as far as being friends with Krishna. He already knows everything. I don't have to hide anything. Krishna, with all my faults, here I am, take me. You're my friend, you have to take. This is the Sakya Rasa. Of course, Krishna being the supreme, all-knowing, all-powerful person, it's a little dicey to just treat him in a casual, informal way as you might a friend. So for this reason, Krishna has an energy known as Yoga Maya, by which he can make someone think that he's just an ordinary person. So he exercises this Yoga Maya because he likes friends. He likes friends. He doesn't want everybody to just be subservient, begging, praying. He likes friends. He wants to pal around, joke around. But obviously, that sort of intimate friendship is reserved for very surrendered, pure, devoted people. So Arjuna, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, the main textbook about Krishna, Arjuna is friends with Krishna, and then at one point in their relationship he says, Krishna, can you show me your divinity? He's not totally skeptical, but maybe a little bit. But Krishna's been explaining to him, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, everything comes from me. All right, Krishna, I believe that, but could you show me your universal form? So he asks to see this manifestation of Krishna's supremacy, which is represented by the entire cosmic manifestation. So Krishna says, sure, I'll have to give you some special goggles, but you can see, divine eyes, but you can see it. And so then at first Arjuna is very amazed and overwhelmed by the majesty and beauty of it all. But then he sees the side of the Supreme which is not so pleasant. That is the all-devouring death. That is also part of God's existence, that as he creates material bodies, he also takes away the material bodies, because they are not the true identity of the spiritual being. So Arjuna sees that side of him. Then he becomes very frightened. He sees all his friends, all his relatives, everyone in the whole universe being killed. Krishna is representing death as this giant pair of jaws just chewing up everybody. And so when he sees that, Arjuna becomes very frightened and says, Krishna, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. I treated you as an equal. I sat on the bed with you. I joked with you. I was sarcastic with you. Oh, great hero. Please forgive me. Please tolerate me as a father would tolerate an impudent son, or a lover would tolerate a rude beloved, or a parent would tolerate a child, or a friend would tolerate a friend. Please excuse me for my familiarity. And he's essentially saying that, I'll never do this again. Forgive me, I'm enlightened now. But how does Krishna respond? He says, Arjuna, you asked me, and I've shown you this divine form. But now look, here I am again, your old pal Krishna, the two-armed form with whom you are familiar. And that way, he restores Arjuna's position in this sakyarasa, in this friendly relation. He likes friends. He likes friends. But it doesn't stop there. There is yet another higher relationship with God that is called the Vatsalya Ras, or parental Ras. So today is Father's Day. We're talking about Krishna as the Supreme Father. But does Krishna have a father? Or is he an orphan? He also, just as we might enjoy a loving relationship with our Father, so Krishna also aspires to enjoy that loving relationship. Although again, nobody can be his father because he's the origin of everybody. And yet certain intimate devotees he allows to treat him as a parent would treat a child. So what is that relationship between parent and child? There's certainly respect. There's certainly service. Parent renders so much service to their child. There's friendship when the child is grown. But there's also the capacity to tell the child what to do. So Krishna puts himself in a position where these great devotees can tell him, okay, Krishna, time for dinner. Okay, Krishna, bring your father's shoes. Okay, Krishna, time to go take care of the cows. And his parents are telling him what to do, and he's very gladly doing it. Most of the time, he's pretty subservient. And when he doesn't, when he's not, he has a very good story. Some of the acharyas comment that Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, Krishna's foster mother and father, they were concerned about his character development. It's just when he was a young boy, already committed a murder, and then he was caught stealing butter. So his character was very questionable. They were wondering, what kind of a job are we doing with our son? So he puts himself under the direction of such loving devotees. In fact, Krishna has two fathers in his pastimes. He has a Vasudeva, who gave birth to Krishna through his mother Devaki, through his wife Devaki. And then he has his foster father, Nanda Maharaj. So, of course, the story was that Devaki and Vasudeva were imprisoned by their politically ambitious Kamsa, Devaki's brother, Vasudev's brother-in-law. He put them in jail, and there it had been prophesied that their eighth child would kill Krishna. So although they were in a horrific situation, they knew their only hope was to have their children one after the next, and every time they had one, Kamsa would kill it. So finally, when the eighth child was born, Vasudev was delighted and anxious at the same time, afraid that Kamsa, the wicked Kamsa, would come and kill this child as well. So then, by this Yogamaya mystic potency, all of the locks and the doors opened, all of the guards fell asleep, and Vasudeva was able to sneak out of the prison with his newly born son. And he took him across the river, which mystically opened for him to cross, and left him in the house of Nanda Maharaj in the rural area across the river in Gokula. And then he picked up Nanda's daughter, who had just been born that night, and whose gender was not known to her mother, and snuck back to the prison with his baby girl, hoping that Kamsa would spare the baby girl. So Kamsa did not. He was prepared to kill her when all of a sudden this baby girl manifested this majestic form as Durga, the personified material world, which scared Kamsa so much that he apologized. He got religion. He said, "I've been so foolish, please forgive me, I'll set you free." And thus Krishna's parents were freed from jail, but they didn't have Krishna. In fact, the next day, all of Kamsa's ministers said, actually Narada came to Kamsa and said, "Do you know that all the demigods have been born around here recently, and that Krishna's taken birth, but somewhere else?" And so Kamsa and his ministers said, "Oh, then we're going to kill all the babies who've been born in the last so many days." So in this way, Vasudeva was anxious, but hopeful that Nanda would be able to keep Krishna hidden. When we think about all these things, why didn't Krishna just make it easy? Why did he make it so difficult for his parents, putting them in so much anxiety? Well, this is simply because Krishna enjoys seeing his devotees glorified. That even these great intimate devotees would go through tribulations, just like you or I go through tribulations in our lives. And they did not let it dissuade them from their service. So in the same way, we can take inspiration. So anyway, Nanda was very, very happy to have a son. He was a little older, a very simple man, but he was so happy to have a son. He had a big party. He had a name-giving ceremony, although he had to kind of keep it quiet. Vasudeva, meanwhile, knew that Kamsa could not be trusted. And so he did not tell anybody about what had happened. But he happened to see Nanda Maharaj one day in Mathura, in the big city. Nanda had come to pay his taxes, and so Vasudeva said, "Oh, I heard you had a son. Congratulations. At your old age, you've had a son. That's very auspicious." And Nanda was very simple village chief, and he said, thank you, and how are you?" And when he answered Vasudeva's inquiries, Vasudeva could understand, Nanda has Krishna, and Nanda has no clue what's going on. So then Krishna grew up under the care of Nanda Maharaj, and always considered him his father, and Yashoda his mother. But then later, Krishna went to, when he was a little older, Krishna went to Mathura and killed Kamsa. Kamsa had meanwhile imprisoned Vasudeva and Devaki again. So after Krishna killed Kamsa, then he was able to go and set his parents free from the jail. And this was a great reunion for them after, of course, so many years of separation. So I'd like to read this from my poetic version of the 10th canto of Gadu Dances, plagiarized verse for verse. Next, after killing Kamsa, Balaram and Krishna set their tortured parents free, displaying great respect by bowing down on hands and knees. Now Vasudeva and Devaki saw past their son's facade. They stood with folded palms and could not face embracing God. So here again we have this conflict of relationships. Krishna had done amazing things when he had come to Mathura. He killed some fierce wrestlers, he killed a big elephant, and then he killed Kamsa. And in the jail, Vasudeva was hearing all of these things. So they thought, oh, this son of ours, he must be God. So then when he came in to set them free, they could only see him in that way. So instead of running to embrace him like parents would after years of separation, they just stood with folded palms. Shantaras, awe and reverence. So then Krishna began speaking in a very sweet way to restore their parental feelings towards him. Since Vasudeva and Devaki held back affinity for their beloved Krishna and his clear divinity, the Lord invoked his power of illusion to restore the deep parental love for him the two had known before. My dearest loving parents, said the Lord respectfully, both Balaram and I have caused you such anxiety. Deprived by fate, we could not spend our childhood in your home, enjoying all the loving care you surely would have shown. The parents give the body which accommodates the soul and keep this precious vehicle protected, strong, and whole. Though he returns a lifetime service to the partnership, what man could ever compensate his parents for this gift? A healthy, wealthy son whose parents starve must realize the guards of hell will force-feed him his body when he dies. A man of means who fails to care for parents, guru, wife, or children is a dead man who pretends to harbor life. For many years we failed to honor both of you because King Kamsa always frightened us and passed unfriendly laws. Forgive us, father, mother, please. King Kamsa took away our freedom to express the love we felt for you each day. To hear their darling Krishna making statements such as these made Vasudeva and Devaki choke up and feel quite pleased. Parental love for Krishna flooded both their eyes with tears, and speechless, they embraced the sons they'd missed for all these years. So here Krishna is showing how much he cherishes this parental relationship. So there's even more beyond this. But the point is that God is not just limited to awe and reverence. He can be served, he is a friend, and he can even be your child. He's the Supreme Father, but not limited to that relationship. In conclusion, there's a beautiful verse by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his song Manasa Deha Geha, in which he describes Krishna as the complete manifestation of all these relationships. He says, Janaka, Janani, father, mother, Daita, Tanaya, and my dear children, Prabhu, my Lord, Guru, you're my Guru, Pati, you're my husband, Tuya Sarvamoya, and you are all of these things to me. So in a full and complete relationship with God, all of these relationships are available. Hare Krishna. So any comments, reflections? Stephen?
What was the name of the two?
Manasa Deha Geha. You can find it on kksongs.org. Manasa Deha Geha. That means mind, body, and home. I'm giving all of this to you. Yokichi more, and plus everything else that I own. Arpimun Tuapadi, Nanda Kishore Krishna. Today, it all belongs to you. Any other questions or reflections? Yes. Yeah.
There you go. That the spiritual master also is like the father.
Mm-hmm.
And in representing Krishna as the father. And I don't know if you want to comment on it or not. It was just something that...
Thank you for that. Yes, I meant to bring that up. The spiritual master is also like the father, the spiritual father of the disciples. And there is room for the higher rasas also, a few of them. The servitude relationship, pariprishnena sevaya, that in relation to our spiritual father we offer service. And he also is a friend. He is a friend to the disciple. So we don't want to be over familiar, but that is the relationship. In fact, at some point in his later years, Srila Prabhupada also treated some of his disciples almost in a parental way. Yeah, in the very end of his manifest pastimes, he would say, you decide, you want me to stay or go, you decide, you take me here or there. He put himself in their hands as if they were his parents. So, this is a really important point. I can add to that also that in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, Lord Rishabhadev said that father and guru are on the same level. Guru nasasyat swajano nasasyat. Pita nasasyat janani nasasyat. No one should become a father, a mother, a teacher, or a guru, or even a worshipable demigod, unless one can deliver one's dependence. So the real father, whether, like Srila Prabhupada's father was a great, pure-hearted Vaishnava and taught his son spiritual life. So whether or not we're so fortunate, the point is that the duty of the father is to enlighten the child as well as protect their body. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Haribo. Okay, anything else? All right, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, our eternal spiritual father. Haribo.
Have a 3 hours.